Hi everyone! This tutorial is for a sausage dog Draught Excluder. Draught excluders are great for keeping the warm in and stopping the cold air from leaking out. When I was looking online for Draught excluder sewing patterns, I couldn't find any dachshund ones that I really loved, so I've designed my own and you can download my sewing pattern for free. Follow the link below. I'm upcycling a pair of old cushions, which have this lovely herringbone pattern fabric. Unzip the pillows and remove the filling. I took the time to unpick all the seams. I've gained 2 zips, some piping and some scrap fabric that I can use on other projects. Here's everything you'll need for this project. A pair of cushions, the cushion filling, paper scissors, fabric scissors, pins, snips, sewing thread, a hand sewing needle, a sewing machine and a measuring tape. You're also going to need to print out the sewing pattern on some A4 paper. For the ears, I'm going to make them in a contrasting fabric. I've got these 2 suede elbow patches that I'm going to use. I also popped into my local haberdashery and I purchased 1 dog nose and 2 dog eyes. This totalled out at 52p and that's how much I spent for this whole project. Let's get started. Measure your door width. Mine measures at 80 centimetres. For the dog's body, cut along the dotted line. My door width measured at 80 centimetres. Don't forget to add a 1 centimetre seam allowance at either end. My pattern's total length needs to be 82 centimetres. I'm now going to sew the 2 pieces together to make 1 piece of fabric. As you can see, my fabric just isn't wide enough for 2 dog bodies with tails, so I'm going to have to cut the tail separately. If yours is wide enough and you can fit it on, make sure you add this now. Line the patterns up, double check the width measurement and draw a straight line across. A ruler would have been helpful, I just didn't have one to hand. Cut out 2 dogs' bodies and don't forget to mark your notches. And here's where I messed up. I didn't check that the pattern was round the correct way and I ended up putting the notches on the wrong side. This pattern piece is wider than an A4 piece of paper, so I had to put it on the fold. Once you've finished cutting out, don't forget to mark your notches. Also, don't forget to mark the dog eyes on both sides of your dog's face. Next, we're going to cut the ears out. I'm using 2 faux suede elbow patches, but you'll also need the underneath fabric too. So that's 4 ears in total, as they're going to be bagged out. Pin the 2 right sides together. Now cut out your remaining pattern pieces. Now we're going to pin the tail onto the body. Find your notches and match the tail pattern to these. Make sure that your tail is pointing in towards the body and not out towards the bottom. Sew a straight line across on both pieces. Remove the pins . Snip into the curved seam. The reason for doing this is that once the ear is turned inside out, the seam will lay flat and won't look wrinkled or pulled. Make sure to trim down the seam near the point. Otherwise, the seam will look bunched and will be visibly bulky. Let's start sewing. Remember, you need to sew around the tail. If you sew straight across, you won't be able to stuff it. Grab your snips and snip around the curved edge. Trim off seam allowance near the point. Grab your side head patterns and your ears. Find the notch and place the ear here. Pin this on and add a 5mm stay stitch. Do the same for the other side. Now we're going to sew the two side head patterns together. Sew a straight line from edge to edge. Get the top of your dog head pattern piece, find the notch and match this to the seam that you have just sewn. Find your next notch. This matches where your ear begins. Pin the rest of the piece in. Ease the fabric into the curved section. Grab your snips and snip around the curved edge. Do the same for the other side. And snip around the curved edge. We're going to be making a small hole to allow the dog's nose to poke through. For this, you're going to need to unpick a few stitches to create the hole. To prevent your seam from unravelling, we're going to need to secure it by sewing over the seam several times. Find the mark for the eye, unpick 1 or 2 stitches to create a hole, insert your eye and fasten. Since making this, I've adjusted the pattern so the ear sits back by 1.5 centimeters, so your eyes won't be covered by the ears. Do the same for the other side. Grab the chest piece and the dog's body. Find the centre seam and match it to this notch. Pin up to the top of the arms. And snip around the curved edge. Grab the dog's head, find the centre front seam and match it to this notch. Ease the fabric into the curved section. Turn your pattern inside out and check the seams. There's a small hole here that I need to go over and secure. Do the same for the other side. Pull your towel inside out. It may need some teasing. If you find your towel is not coming to a nice point, you may need to trim the seam allowance down further. Stuff the tail with the cushion filling, using a small bit to get right into the point, then start packing it in. Now fill your arms. Don't fill them all the way to the opening. If you do, the arms will begin to splay. Now we need to make an opening to stuff into. Also, don't copy me here, choose the seam that will be sitting on the floor, that belly seam. Initially I was going to stuff from the bottom, but it would be too difficult to hand sew that round bottom piece once fully stuffed. I did try it. You need to secure either end of that opening, so we need to sew back over it. Unpick to create a new stuffing hole. Grab your bottom piece, match the notches up, pin and ease everything else in between. Once sewn, don't forget to snip. Now it's time to stuff. Take your time. If you find your filling is a bit lumpy, tear it up into smaller pieces. Now let's hand sew that hole up. Yours won't be visible due to your hole being on the underbelly seam. Secure with a knot. And here he is. I think I'll call him Harry. Harry, my little sausage dog Draught Excluder, made from an old pair of cushions. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. To download your free sewing pattern and have a go at making your own dog Draught Excluder, click on the link below. Well, that's it from me, guys. Thanks!